Tui e te rangi e tū nei, tui e te papa e takoto nei. Tui a rātou kua he atu ki te pō uri uri, te pō tangotango, te pō ioti atu. Ngā kura i tangi hia he mai mai aroha, nā te keingi Māori e ki nei te kōrero, ko ia te pauwaru o tēnei mea o mate. Nō reira, kia tau iho ngā manaakitanga a te wāhingaro, ki runga ki tō tātou kingi tana whanekau iariki, ki runga ki ngā tinana e māwiwingi ana. Māwiwingi ana pia o roto o te kōwhiti te kaumā iwa, māwiwingi ana rānei no roto o te kaumātuatanga, hoeno, ngā tinana e māwiwingi ana, kia tau iho kua ua manaakitanga anō ki runga, kia koutou, rātou, tātou. Ki runga rāno i a tātou e whai o rāna, i roto i e nei rā, tēnei ata maike, kia whiti mai te rā, tai huapea. Hoi nō rā, kei oku rangatina. Haere mai ki tēnei karakia. Karakia nā te Nehenehenui RMC i whakarite, engari mo Ngāti Maniapoto, mo waiake rānei, koutou e hono nei ki tēnei reo irirangi o Maniapoto. Tēnā koutou, kia ora hui tātou katoa. Welcome everybody to this karakia this morning, Wednesday, the 9th of March. Unfortunately, Cassidy has indicated that he's unwell this morning. He has COVID in his flat, and there is a very strong possibility that he might also be one of those almost 18,000 cases advertised yesterday of COVID, and Maria has been caught up. I thought this morning what I might do is just share a little thought with you, if I can catch that. Oops. It's somewhere on my screen. I'll just see if it's there. It's there. So how do I share that? Never mind. The thought that I have is that our Prime Minister, after what happened at Parliament grounds the other day, was reported as saying that we shouldn't be defined by the actions of that group of people who were violent, lawless. I know that there were people in that grouping who were not violent, who were very sincere in their protest. I know that there were people who supported the protest, who are not just a small group, but also are not part of those who wanted to be part of the violence. But I do agree with the Prime Minister, and I ask that we should all agree that that violence and that lawlessness is not how we should be defined. So it begs the question, how should we be defined? Are we defined by being Ngāti Maniapoto? Are we defined by being Waikato? Are we defined by being Māori? What defines us? I'm reminded that in 2014, there was a piece of legislation passed in the Pākehā Parliament which said that Te Ure Wera forest. I know that's not part of us Ngāti Maniapoto, but some of us have tūhoi background and relate with the tūhoi, especially those of us who remember Ōrākau. But in that legislation, Te Urewera Forest ceased to be a national park and was recognised in law as a legal person. Now, Māoriness says that everything has a mauri, everything has a mana, has its own tapu, its own wehi, its own ihi. So, for our Māori minds to assign Te Urewera something more than being a mere national forest, to say that it has its own mauri is not out of the box. But it certainly is in our Westminster-styled parliament, in our legal system in this country. And I dare say that it's probably a world first that a forest is deemed a legal person who owns themselves. And then they have a board made up principally of Ngai Tūhoi because of their relationship with the forest, but also with others who ensure that the mauri of that piece of land is preserved, and other matters in legislation which they recognise, uphold. They are the kaitiaki of the forest. They manaki the forest, and the forest manakis them. In 2017, a similar piece of legislation deemed the Whanganui River a person, legally. Again, my Māori mind is not surprised with that, but my Pākehā mind says that's significant in that we ascribe to the land, to the water, to the mountains, a mauri. Te Nehenehenui, our RMC, Te Nehenehenui, this great forest that was there in 1903 when the kawenata o Te Nehenehenui was signed by so many of our tūpuna. It has its own mauri. I'm suggesting that that's part of our identity. I'm suggesting that that kind of thing is how we should identify ourselves. I'm also reminded of this beautiful woman, Hinewehi Mohi, and that at Twickenham in England, I forget the year, when the All Blacks played England, she sang the national anthem in Māori, and it caused a huge furore. It was a huge controversy. People complaining about this foreign language being sung to celebrate a rugby game. You know, it has been done many times before in many other contexts, but to do it at Twickenham with this group called the All Blacks, much was made of that at that time, and it caused some consternation, some worry for too many people. Nowadays, in this very much more enlightened time, we have all sorts of people singing the national anthem in Māori. But at that time, it was principally Māori only doing it. So much is happening in our Aotearoa New Zealand, of which we should be proud. And that, I think, is part of how we should identify ourselves. So my karakia this morning is e hua atua o ngā iwi mātaura. Ata whakarongona me aroha noa. Kia hua ko te pai, kia tau tō watawhai, manaki tia mai Aotearoa. Kia tau iho aua manaki tanga ki runga kia koutou, tātou oroto tēnei wiki. God of nations, at thy feet, in the bonds of love we meet. Hear our voices, we entreat. God defend our free land. Guard Pacific's triple star from the shafts of strife and war. Make her praises heard afar. God defend New Zealand. God defend Te Nehenehenui, Ngāti Maniapoto, Huri Noa. Wherever you may be in the world, whoever you may be, kia tau iho ngā manaakitanga, a te wāhinga rokirunga ki o koutou, tātou katoa, pai mārire.